Hey guys, it's me Salty, and today I'll be giving my opinions about Princess Peach Showtime. I'll focus on the game's premise, visual presentation, controls, gameplay, and finally, the price point. It's cool to get another Mario game that solely focuses on Princess Peach. And let's see if this game is extra sweet or leaves a salty taste in our mouths, as well as our wallets. The story is pretty simple. Princess Peach gets invited to Sparkle Theater, however the invite proved to be a trap. Grape, the main antagonist and her purpley trope of mischief makers, want to take over the theater, and Grape imprisons each of the main characters into paintings. In order to continue the show and save all of the plays, Peach must defeat all of Grape's minions, as well as freeing all the main characters, or Sparkles. You team up with a star named Stella, who just serves as a bit of company, as well as sometimes providing hints on how to progress. Also, the little fellas are called Theets, and they're so cute. The developers of this game, Good Feel, are also the same humans behind Yoshi's Woolly World, as well as Wario Land, Shake It, and my favorite, Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I really like the presentation and twist of the typical Mario game gameplay they provide. This is by far the most impressive part about the game. All of the stages are extremely colorful with well-made backgrounds. It could be a bit confusing at times, telling the difference between the foreground and background, but because of the consistency and clarity of the stages, one begins to understand how to move around. Many collectibles are hidden within the environments, so it's always worth keeping an eye out. Despite the repetitive nature of small minions, the bosses all have a unique flair and variety. I really like the designs of a lot of the bosses. Grape, the big baddie, definitely has an extremely interesting design. I really like how she was basically just a floating cape with hands and a mask. The controls are very responsive. There are many levels where precise jumping and timing of the action button requires quick responses from button presses. I do wish that some of the other buttons on the controller were utilized, as it becomes frustrating in certain instances where I need the action button to do something else, but not being in the correct spot, it would do something completely different. Albeit, there were not many instances of this, so I can chalk it up to just a minor gripe. Outside of that, the real offensive controls come in the form of the cake level, but there will be more on that later. I was really worried that because this game had so many different game mechanics, that the game would suffer immensely as far as the controls go, but it manages to be a tight experience all around. This is where my opinion is split. So essentially, Peach has 10 different forms: sword, ninja, cowgirl, baker, detective, ice skater, superhero, mermaid, thief, and martial artist, which at first sound really cool. But I was under a huge misconception. Each form is tied to one particular type of level, so you really only get a few levels at each of the forms. Don't get me wrong, some of these levels are really fun. I especially like the thief, detective, ninja, ice skater, sword, mermaid, and cowgirl levels. I really wish there were more things to do with the forms. I do have issues with the martial arts and especially the baker form. The martial arts form doesn't really do anything. It is cool swinging around the poles, and the boss fights are fun, but the levels are usually super short and don't really offer much variety. The baker form just felt like it was caked in. Yeah, I know. It feels like an early 2000s PC game you'd find on Real Arcade, but the joke is I'd rather be playing Diner Dash. So there is that. You basically have two objectives: bake cookies for a period of time, being careful not to overbake them or you lose an entire batch. For some reason, I think of the Poffin minigame in Pokemon, which if you bake them for too long, they burn. It's not the worst thing, but it is pretty tedious. Once you get the hang of it and realize to just prioritize the bowls that your allies are in front of, it becomes a breeze. The other objective is making cakes and desserts. Think of the Boo minigame in Mario Party where you have to use a drill to trace over an outline of a Boo and whoever gets it closest wins. Now add some spinning plates and a horrible camera angle with a dash of lazy design and you get this mess. Once I figured out I could just spam the cream dollops, it made some of the more difficult cakes a lot easier to make. These levels do get challenging, but it felt more like a chore than some of the other levels that had much more interesting platforming and map mechanics. Outside of the main levels, there are boss rooms that you have to do. These rooms are specific to each of the different forms that Peach has for a total of 10 rooms. These boss rooms offer some pretty challenging objectives, and your goal is to save all the main characters of the respective plays. You don't unlock anything by doing them, but it is very satisfying completing them, with the exception of that awful baker room. And in order to beat the final boss, you have to clear them all, as well as the stages on each floor. The final boss was definitely a letdown. The cinematography was amazing. I love seeing Peach in her penultimate form, and to be honest, it was really cool having laser space star powers. However, I was really hoping to have to use all the different forms to defeat Grape, but instead you're put on rails and you just shoot at her. The obstacles are real easy to avoid, and shooting around Grape's minions doesn't really take much effort. It should be noted that a bunch of extra content unlocks after you beat the game. The boss rush is the most intriguing, and I might make a separate video where I attempt to run it to completion. I think that $60 was a lot to ask for this game. Is it competent? Yes. Does it play well? Yes. Does it look good? Heck yes. However, it was pretty short and felt more like a $30 to $40 experience than an almost $60 one. I can easily tell that the production value was very high, but I would have loved for a few more levels, or simply a few levels that combine the usage of multiple forms, perhaps changing back and forth between them. The ice skating levels left me wanting more especially. However, for a family-friendly title, one that might be a kid's first Mario platformer, I think that Princess Peach Showtime will make a wonderful first impression. I would just wait to catch the game on sale. At 30 to 40 bucks, a lot of my complaints go out the window. All in all, I think Princess Peach Showtime is a fun experience and definitely a game I'm going to be speedrunning in the future. I'm really big on 2D platformers and puzzle games. This title definitely scratches some of those itches. I do wish the game was more fleshed out like other Mario spin-offs, such as Luigi Mansion games that are always chocked full of content. I definitely think if they scaled down on all the forms and just added more levels for some of the more enjoyable ones, it would have made for an even more amazing experience. I definitely still give this game a solid 7 out of 10. And that'll be that for this review. If you want to see more salty reviews in the future, please be sure to leave a comment. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and of course, make sure you get something to eat. Make sure you brush your teeth, make sure you get a good night of sleep, but above all, y'all, stay salty. And with that being said, I'm out.